Hi, my name is Mickey Hughes. This is Over the Edge. It's a podcast about anxiety where I speak with comedians and comedy producers, sometimes people in the medical community, to talk about anxiety and mental health and what we've been going through without a stage during the pandemic. So today I have a Suzy Rawsome from Rawsome Comedy. She has been putting on tons of Zoom shows, lots of events. So here is Suzy.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Yay, we're opening up again. I'm
We're,
super good. I think that people are really itching to get out. Like all the shows here happening so far are selling out, so people are really excited to get back into it. So, I'm pretty sure there'll be a big revolt if they don't open back up. Yeah.
you have the most successful that I've seen online comedy shows. We're all doing it. We're streaming. We're doing stand up comedy. We're doing events now online, and yours are just everywhere, and they're very good and they're very well produced. Are you going to still do them, or are you going back to producing real events, or are you going to do both?
Well, I mean, it's really hard to say. I do really like doing the Zoom events, but I think that they are appealing to a certain type of audience, and definitely people who don't normally leave the house anyway are probably going to want them to continue. And I think I might keep the ones that make sense to continue online, like Rib My Crib. That one is really fun and it's a very visual show. So it would be more complicated to do it in person. We'd have to get like a theater or a projector to do it properly. So that one might continue online. As for stand up, I just like it's not as good online as it is in person, and it's really hard to convince people that it's fun in any way. So it's just a lot of arm twisting, and the in-person events, you make way more money because you sell by the ticket instead of by the household. And so yeah, it's hard to really see myself continuing with the stand-up Zoom shows, but the formatted shows maybe.
It did everything except for stand up, because I agree with you that it's difficult to. It's difficult. I don't even watch. I don't even watch comedy on Netflix. I need to be in a kind of in a theater, and now I've done it a couple times where it was actually stand up where I did it, and there was no feedback, and it was weird. But
Yeah.
I'm thinking of doing a combo, even where if I do comedian of the North, which is the contest here, and the comedians fly in, uh, is maybe do a combo of online where we can bring some of them in and put them on a screen, or get the judging done remotely, right?
Hmm.
Because there's only so many people locally that can do it. Would you do you think you could do that too, or work them in together?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of people doing that in Asia. I know my girlfriend Sue, she did a show, like a storytelling show. I think it was in Thailand or Singapore. I can't recall which one. But she did a show there. She got like beamed in live on a screen, and she said she didn't really like it. She's like, I couldn't hear them laughing. I watched it afterwards and I felt good because I saw them laughing afterwards, but in the moment, it's still not, it's still not the same. And unless you have like a full like TV studio setup or somebody working the tech for you, it's so much extra labor that I'm just, I've actually considered getting into like a TV career after this because I really like the video format. But as for like doing it with stand up, I just like it's not for me. It's a whole different kind of pacing, and it's like the first person I saw get the pacing right was Brent Butt. Like I watched him like do a joke, and then he would like sit there
Mm-hmm.
awkwardly while all the laughs came in because everybody's internet's a different speed. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so it is really, it's a different muscle for sure because you have to wait like a few extra beats after every punchline, and it's just not natural. It's not conversational.
And I did it without any feedback, so it was just my face on the screen, and I just played into it. I just said, like, I'm just going to assume that I'm killing it right now, and I was giving laugh breaks where, like, I'm like, I just like, this is usually where people laugh.
Yeah.
Like, it was the only thing I could do to play into it, and
Yeah.
and obviously I'm not going to name names, but there have been some of the funniest people, and I've watched their Zoom and been like, oh, you're better than this. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've seen some people just their soul die during a Zoom show because sometimes the audience doesn't set their mics properly, so we have to like mute the people who are actually laughing the loudest, but they're laughing too loud where we can't hear the comics. So I hate having to mute those people, but we have to do it for the benefit of the show. So oftentimes, there isn't much laughter because people are laughing too loud. So, you know,
Right. And I was going to do Comedian of the North online, and it was actually watching your show that I decided not to, because you were doing all of this stuff, and you could see, and I thought, if anything went wrong right now, right, you were like, you sold tickets, you have 8 comedians involved, right, you have all this stuff going on, like if you were to do something, if something were to happen and everything would be shut down, that would be brutal. And it's not like we can have a bunch of people in our house. It's not like, so I actually canceled it because I was scared that I wouldn't be able to pull it off watching you do like 12 things at once. I was like, what am I thinking? I can't do that. I can't even balance sound on a podcast I've been doing for 6 months. Like, wait, like what's gonna happen? How are you?
well, I mean, I'm a pretty private person, so I don't
Oh, this
I
isn't gonna
don't
go well. No,
no,
I'm
no,
just
no, like
joking.
like I
I'm
like
just
like
joking.
like it like I when it comes to comedy, like I do keep it separate. So like, I don't really hang out with a lot of comics. I mean, I have a lot of comics who are close friends, but I try not to do the whole like click thing with comedy. So definitely this has really reduced my superficial interactions with people. So I feel like my social skills are going to be needing some brushing up after this is all over, because I have spent a lot of time by myself during the pandemic. I mean, with my dog, but like he gets bored of me sometimes. So
Well, you're dealing with comics too, and we have very. I mean, I suffer from anxiety, but we're a volatile group. So to be able to, I've never seen you have any, Facebook meltdowns, or you don't have a TikTok series where you mock your job. Like, your presentation is very professional, and I mean, you run a tight ship. Like when I was first doing the Riviera Crib, I was like, okay, just do this and keep it the basics and follow the rules. And
kind of got to thinking, I'm like, do I want to do comedy, or do I want to change the face of comedy? Because when I got into comedy, there was hardly any women, like hardly any, and the ones that were there weren't sticking around for very long. And so I kind of thought for a while, I'm like, do I want to do comedy, or do I want to help get more women into comedy? Because it was just too emotionally taxing to do both. So I kind of just picked producing, and then the next year we got asked to do JFL Northwest. So I was like,
oh
well,
yeah,
maybe I'll quit next year.
how do you feel about the advancement of women now in comedy in roles like producing and doing the things that you wanted to bring a spotlight to women?
Oh, for sure. I mean, like it's just been getting stronger for years now. There's been more women coming on board, more women sticking around. Definitely, the whole Me Too thing that happened kind of helped drain the swamp, if you will. A lot of people, unfortunately, got outed and left. Like, I really wish that more people had kind of like face the music a little bit more and like evolved and adapted and like admitted wrong, and then like we could have all continued to maybe working together and stuff. But a lot of people just ran away and left comedy, and there was no real resolution. So you know maybe it's a good thing that they're gone, but I really wish that there was more reconciliation than just like this whole canceling thing, because there are degrees of issues in the scene, and I think that overall it's become a more hospitable environment for women. I definitely think there's still a lot of shitty people around making it shitty for women, but I think those people are more acutely aware that they're kind of being observed. Like they know that if they fuck up, that they're going to face some consequences.
Are you the stable friend? Are you the one that people call when they're having a hard time? Are you the one that reaches out and says, "Talk me off a ledge"?
I don't think that I'm much of either, to be honest with you. I'm a pretty reclusive person. I definitely, I have my kid to support and stuff like that. And I have like a couple close friends that I keep in contact with, and my mom, my ex-boyfriend and stuff. So like they're the people who I like, talk to on the regular. A lot of people were reaching out to me in the beginning of the pandemic. And I was kind of like, do people see me as like unstable and like ready to have a breakdown? Because
No, I
so
would
many
call you
people.
because you seem like the person that you would call. I want to talk to somebody that is going to spin you out. I don't want to call somebody who has anxiety and be like, you know what, I'm worried about, and have them say, you know what, I'm worried about these things, and now we're just compounding issues.
Yeah, I think that like I just come across as somebody who doesn't have anxiety or depression, but like I just don't think people are around me enough to realize that I do definitely struggle with those things too. When I talk
Yeah.
to people like this, like doing stuff like this, like it brings me out of it. Like being around people instantly makes me feel better.
What is your definition of the edge, and have you ever been there?
Definitely had one of those kind of moments last year. I don't know what it is. I just don't do really well with the heat. I'm a bigger girl, so maybe I just like have too much insulation or something, but there's something about the summer, balls hot summer that makes me just like want to lay in bed and like I just that's when my depression hits me is the summer. I've got like reverse sad or something. So
What does depression look like for you? Sorry.
it's mostly me not taking care of myself. So, like I stopped taking my vitamins, which are a big deal to me. Depression sometimes will manifest as like anger. Like I've definitely gotten better with that because I'm more aware of like how that affects others. But when I was younger and like less aware of other people, I definitely tend to kind of like be a loose cannon sometimes. But yeah, I'm more one of those people who just kind of like sinks into herself and doesn't really reach out or hang out with people. And I was really lucky that in the beginning of the pandemic that a lot of people reached out to me because they knew that I was out there like 4 or 5 days a week hustling, and then just to suddenly have nothing to do, like it's tough.
The friends that I have with depression and anxiety or mental health issues, and I will say this as well, the people that reached out to touch base was absolutely awesome. I've never been checked in on more in my life. so,
Yeah.
so that's I love it. Were you picking up the phone and calling your friends and making sure that they were all okay?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think more people need to do that for sure. And if I saw somebody on Facebook like really, struggling, I always make sure to reach out when I see that, when I see people crying out for help, because I know how hard it is to do that. So
Every
I, I,
time.
I definitely try to make sure that I am reaching out when I see stuff like that, especially if it's, suicidal or getting close to it. There's a lot of friends that I had who went through some real rough stuff right before the pandemic, and then having to go into the pandemic with that and like not having the support was probably horrible.
We've lost some of the same friends through this because I know we have a similar friends list.
Mm-hmm.
And watching the specifically Facebook meltdowns. I love that you said that because pre-pandemic, if somebody was like, I'm having a terrible time, and they'd be going off, I would think like what are they doing? Like why? Now I'm like so hyper vigilant. Like if somebody posts like a meme or something, I'll be like, is this something I should be concerned about? you
Yeah,
know?
absolutely. I
Yeah.
still remember like pre-pandemic, we could joke about this. I remember Kevin Banner, like wait, a long time ago, it was probably like 10 years ago. He posted something like, anybody want to hang out? No, back to suicide then, I guess. And I laughed
Mm-hmm.
at it because like I get his dark humor. And then he goes, Suzy, you laughed at that, so that means that you're legally you're legally obligated to like call me and check up on me now. And I'm like, were you joking or not? Like, God damn it.
I got to give a shout out to Canadian comedians for almost collectively, because we don't ever all agree on anything. Watching the suicide jokes come to a screeching halt, or watching the memes drop off or get deleted within 20 minutes of them being posted.
Yeah.
It was like we collectively said, you know what, that's not okay, because
Mm-hmm.
those were frequent jokes that I made, and I've had to reevaluate a lot of things, um, about joking about it. But I think that some stuff has just been off the table, and we all argue about everything. Oh, cancel culture. Oh, COVID. I don't want to wear a mask. Nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about suicide, or nobody jokes about it. And I found that the community is actually far more supportive. Do you feel
Yeah.
closer to comedians now, even though it's not really in person?
Well, I mean, I think it definitely became cool again to talk on the phone. And I think, like, let's keep that, people, because talking on the phone or even through Zoom, it's so much better than typing. Like, first of all, I'm getting old and I can't fucking like type on my phone anymore. Like I'm trying to spend as much of my day off my phone as possible because first of all, I've got this like monster iPhone 11, which like is so heavy. I don't know why they had to make it so goddamn heavy. Yeah, I think talking on the phone has definitely brought me a lot closer. I have had several like hour long conversations. During the pandemic, and like I haven't talked that long on the phone in years. Like
No,
there's
and
just
we are bad at texting. Our texts, and like you and I together, like I'm surprised. Like you used Google to determine one of mine, and I'm like, no, is a spelling mistake? You're like, is that a duvet? And then you were, I was reading what you were writing, and I thought we are really bad at this. This is
well, I don't know what's up with my iPhone, but it like corrects to words that I'm just like, what? Who
oh
says
my
that
god,
ever?
yeah. And it's the same one, like, and they're words that I use all the time, which is absolutely, which is horrible. That it keeps, I mean, I say overload a lot, like anyway, always changes it to overlord, which is which is awkward no matter what. Like overlord never works, and in any conversation. Or how many times do you say I'm going to send you a link or send me a link? Right? My phone changes it to kink. So
So it knows you well, is what you're
that's
saying.
right. So exactly right. So don't worry, I'll send you the overload via kink.
Just remembered, I'm like, I actually went to the doctor to talk to them about my depression for the first time in years, and they recommended I go to the clinic and like just get checked out and stuff like that, maybe start getting on medication. And within a few days my depression resolved, and so I never did go. But it was really good that I went and got those resources, and I kind of have them tucked away for a rainy day sort of thing, because I did get dangerously close to, like, I think what happens in the summer is the heat affects my sleep, and then when I'm not getting a good sleep, that's when it starts to unravel for me big time. It's not always depression. And that's another thing, is that I hate telling people like get on an antidepressant or anything like that, because sometimes it's not depression. Sometimes it's like ADD. And the ADD and the frustration of having ADD and not being medicated or having any tools to deal with it can cause depression. So, I
Mm-hmm.
think people really need to get assessed and hopefully get that figured out for themselves.
Yeah, I've laughed too. Somebody will say like, "Well, what have you eaten today?" Well, I ate like shit. How did you sleep? When was the last time you went outside? Or I drove by your house. Are your curtains still closed? So that makes a difference. And the stretching, I actually got into a stretching ritual every single morning because I just felt it was self-care maintenance, because I couldn't afford to throw myself into a depression because of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I really super agree with you. I have a bunch of fire questions, which are actually kind of funny because I asked them and they could be complicated, but I'm not going to give you enough time to answer them. So just give me like kind of like your knee jerk reaction, that like it's not like like what are your views on abortion? No.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll do this. Okay, so oh, here it is. So define it has to hurt if it's to heal.
Really pertains to um, how, in order to get through anything, you really have to face the ugly side of the situation. Like, it's not going to be rosy going fixing your trauma and fixing your troubles.
Awesome. When was the last time you cried?
Try to cry like at least once a month. It's not like I'm trying to cry, but like, I definitely don't hold it back. But I'm also a pot smoker, so like I tend to just like chill out.
Go. When was the last time you felt murdery?
Ooh.
I'm so angry.
I mean, I feel murdery on the regular because I definitely have people who like harass me and make videos about me and stuff like that. And so I just kind of like think about murdering them, and it makes me feel a little bit better. So,
We're women in positions in comedy. We're gonna have our haters. I'm somebody that
oh,
reports
yeah.
every single thing that I do, so I hear you there.
Yeah.
Would the world be a better place if we didn't have guns?
Yes, absolutely. I wish guns had never got invented. I mean, we have other kinds of murder machines, but nothing that
Murder
is
machines.
as,
I love this.
yeah, like, there's knives and like, all these sorts of weapons, ancient weapons that we use, but nothing quite as impersonable as a gun. Like, a gun really it disconnects you from the harm you're causing.
What's an okay lie to tell a child?
An okay lie to tell a child. Well, I mean, it depends on the age of the child for one, but like, say a child is like 8 or younger and like their parent dies of an overdose, I don't think there's any need to tell them how their parent died necessarily, but if they're a little bit older, I think it's important to tell them the truth. My kid figured out Santa and stuff on his own, so I didn't even have to like reveal that to him. He just kind of figured it out. Same thing with the tooth fairy. He was just happy to get money and presents. So, there was no need to lie to him.
Oh, um, but telling him that there was a Santa.
Yeah, I mean, like,
I
think that's okay. I think that's okay when they're little, like it's just the magic of Christmas. But
it's not even a judgment. It's just
but he's the one who brought it up to me. How like why doesn't Santa just give the kids in Africa everything they need? And I was like, oh well, about that.
I would so bad if I had children. What, Mom? Why does God hate Africa?
Yeah, exactly. Like it's just like
Santa can hear you.
Yeah. Oh, fuck.
Like, no. Is there such thing as a soulmate?
I think there's definitely like I don't think that romantically soulmates necessarily exist. I mean, I think that is like an extra layer of special when you find a soulmate that's a romantic partner. But I think that soulmates are like I believe more in kindred spirits, like there's people who you can just talk to and it's just comfortable and it flows and you never run out of anything to say and you just kind of get each other. So I think there's definitely those kinds of people. But as for like romantic soulmates, I think that's just in the movies.
Okay. What is one major goal that you had in life that you never accomplished?
Well, I mean, it's still a goal of mine, and that's to open a comedy club or several comedy clubs, and I would love to be putting on events in my own venues, and that's basically my end goal in life is to have a chain of comedy clubs and make people laugh all over.
What's your biggest flex, biggest accomplishment that you've accomplished since March of 2020?
Oh my goodness.
Because I know you went to Just for Laughs.
Well, I did JFL Northwest, yeah.
Yes.
The Vancouver Just for Laughs festival. Of 2020, my biggest flex of
since 2020. Sorry.
Oh, since 2020.
Since March of 2020. Since we were told, okay, everybody, go home and think about your life.
I mean, I think that finally moving into a cheaper apartment was my biggest flex, even though like it's kind of like a reverse flex because it's definitely way shittier than my old place. But it definitely helped me to get a lot more stable because I wasn't paying like super exorbitant rent. So moving out of a place after living there 10 years and then moving somewhere else, I mean, that's like the biggest accomplishment I think I've done this year. And besides that, learning Zoom and learning more about doing online comedy shows, I mean, that definitely took a lot of, it was definitely a learning curve for me. And also partnering up with Harbor Podcast Studios, who's helped me produce my shows, and he's working with Dino and Marito, and he's really starting to make a name for himself. So helping him get on the map definitely was a big thing too.
Okay, wonderful. Last question is, can I have the contact information for your show, the Rib Your Crib? Who was the guy that did the hosting? Is that from that company you just talked about?
So was it the last show or the show before?
The one before.
Akeem?
Akeem, and I'm just kidding. I sent him a friend request. I'm like, I'm totally going to use that guy's an amazing. He was the best host that I've seen do like a Zoom thing, like period. Like
yeah, his crowd work was super good.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
awesome.
I loved how he's like, hey, he's like, what's that? Is that a vacuum behind you? To that one audience member, and he goes, why don't you pick it up and move it around sometime?
I know. He was he was so good. He was on point, and I just thought of that now. Like when you were talking, I was like, you gotta maybe bring that guy back. I love him.
Yeah,
Anyway,
he's going to be the host for this month. Yeah.
cool. What do you got coming up now?
So I got Rib My Crib coming up June 23rd. You're going to be a host on that with your BF, Rocky
Yes.
Laporte, which is
Sorry, host
amazing.
or judge?
Sorry, judging.
Oh, okay.
And
I was like, oh, do we like,
yeah.
yeah. So yeah,
Yeah, no, you
Rocky
guys.
Laporte and I are going to judge that, and we're really looking forward to it.
Yeah, so
So
that show's all about people roasting each other's apartments. So that's going to be super fun. And then this Saturday, I have Patrick Maliha doing a regular stand up show. And Monday, we have our New and Blue show, which is like new comics and the few pro comics.
that's Blue
And
Mondays.
that's Monday. Yeah, that's the last one is this Monday.
Okay.
And then this Wednesday, we're doing our last all ladies show. And the headliner is Deborah DiGiovanni. So that's super cool.
I love her. I asked her to do this, and she left me on red. I
Oh,
don't know.
no.
I read it like it was like this big long thing. I figured she probably opened it up. It was like that is a lot of words. I don't know, but I'm gonna watch that. So the two that are ending are the Blue Mondays and the women lineup, which is kind of sad, but
Yeah, so well, there's four shows left. So there's this Saturday, Monday, Wednesday, and then next Wednesday, and then hopefully by then I have a venue up and running and gonna get a show going in the flesh, if you will.
oh my gosh. And I spent 14 years in Vancouver and I do visit. So I will definitely, like when I'm there, I'll come and find whatever venue you've been able to. I'll just look up like the craziest name for any venue anywhere. And if I'm kind of offended, I'll be like, oh, that's probably Suzy's place. That's probably, that's
Yeah, I mean,
probably that.
there's so many new shows popping up. I can't believe how many shows have been announced already, and a couple of shows have already sold out that are in bigger venues. Which
Oh
we
my
can only do
gosh.
50 people max, but they sold out within just a few days, so that's great. And yeah, I just can't wait till we can travel again. Like I actually found
Mm-hmm.
my half sister after not seeing her for 29 years. She knew I existed but didn't know anything about me, and I barely knew anything about her. And I managed to track her down. And so she lives in Halifax. So as soon as the bubble opens up there, I can't wait to go out to Halifax and
Gosh,
just travel around Canada.
I don't like to dig around in pain points, so I'll just touch it like very lightly. Was that where you found out that your father died? Like was a year later you found out your dad died? Did that spark you finding other family members, or did that?
Um, well, I mean, I was in touch with his side of the family, so I knew where they were and how to find them and stuff.
Oh, so
But
you were like, why didn't somebody call me?
yeah, so like they could have gotten a hold of me. They had my mom's number. They could have figured it out, but like they're like very Christian and judgmental, and my mom and I are like heathens, and so they don't like our
Oh,
type, if you will.
I I
So yeah,
get it.
that definitely made me want to find her because I wanted her to know, first of all, because I didn't even know if she like knew that her dad existed, because he abandoned me when I was 2 and he abandoned her when she was 2, like 7 years later. And so I knew about her. I knew like her mom's name, and I knew the basics about her, but I didn't know what her last name was. And I managed to just like crack the code and figure it out. Like, thank God for Facebook. They make it really easy for stalking.
Yeah, they, they really do. You're a hella strong, like with that background and being a woman producer in comedy and getting through. I'm certainly going to be watching for your shows. I'm looking forward to seeing you on the 23rd. And thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun, Mickey.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Suzy. Bye bye.
See you next time.
And next on, so that was Suzy Rawsome. Yay! The next on Over the Edge is going to be Luke Lindale. And thank you very much for coming, and have a good night.